Today, we will learn the guide to purifying the mind. How should we practice? We can practice according to the guide to purifying the mind. First, let's briefly talk about the issue of eliminating self-grasping. Self-grasping of persons is divided into innate self-grasping and conceptual self-grasping. We shall first eliminate conceptual self-grasping. Through continuous practice in this way, we can attain the path of seeing. At that point, conceptual self-grasping is instantly uprooted. After attaining the path of seeing, we shall eliminate innate self-grasping. Only after reaching the path of seeing can we eradicate innate self-grasping. Before entering the path of seeing, you still have conceptual self-grasping. On the surface, you may seem to believe in non-self, but due to ignorance, you cannot confirm it. Therefore, before reaching the path of seeing, we cannot eradicate conceptual self-grasping. After entering the path of seeing, conceptual self-grasping is uprooted and there is no more doubt. You will never doubt or cling to the notion of a self. However, it's not easy to eliminate innate self-grasping. Even if you theoretically understand non-self, innate self-grasping will constantly attack you. Even after attaining the first stage of awakening, innate self-grasping remains strong. Therefore, generally speaking, one who achieves the first fruition can attain the second fruition in their sixth rebirth. One who attains the second fruition has to return to the human or heavenly realm once more, because they still have innate self-grasping. The third fruition is called non-returner, as they will not return to the human realm. However, because they still have subtle innate self-grasping, they go to the fourth dhyana heaven in the form realm to eliminate it. Upon attaining the fourth fruition of arhatship, self-grasping is uprooted. Self-grasping is an inward clinging. According to the mind-only school, innate self-grasping is ingrained and subtle. It is further divided into innate self-grasping of the sixth consciousness and innate self-grasping of the seventh consciousness. This is a difficult topic. Based on my observation, the innate clinging to self in persons and self in phenomena of the seventh consciousness, which takes the eighth consciousness as its object, is unified. Hence, it is called attachment to the self in phenomena. From an objective perspective, it is grasping at phenomena. From a subjective perspective, it is self-grasping. Moreover, it is continuous and very difficult to eradicate. According to the explanation of the Mahayana tradition, innate self-grasping is uprooted upon reaching the seventh or eighth bodhisattva ground. What is eliminated varies between the paths. Shravaka practitioners eliminate the sixth consciousness clinging to the appearances of the five aggregates which arise from all consciousnesses. It perceives either the general or individual image as a real self. The innate self-grasping of the sixth consciousness is intermittent, while the innate self-grasping of the seventh consciousness is continuous. Only bodhisattvas at the eighth ground and above uproot innate grasping at phenomena, which is even more subtle. This topic is difficult to discuss and is rarely mentioned in texts. Today's great masters seldom talk about what happens beyond the eighth bodhisattva ground. so we too won't discuss it here. We mainly learn how to eliminate conceptual self-grasping. After eradicating conceptual self-grasping through the observation and analysis taught in the essentials for purifying the mind, one can enter the path of seeing and attain the first stage of awakening. Upon attaining the first fruition, there is no more conceptual self-grasping, but the habitual tendencies of self-grasping remain. At that stage, one must repeatedly meditate on the emptiness of sentient beings to gradually remove these tendencies. Therefore, it's not easy to eliminate self-grasping. Moreover, there is grasping at phenomena. There are two types of grasping at phenomena, innate and conceptual. The subject of conceptual grasping at phenomena is the sixth consciousness, while innate grasping at phenomena involves both the sixth and seventh consciousnesses. This is explained in the Mind-Only School's teachings on emptiness, but rarely mentioned in other texts. When we have the chance, I will explain this in more detail, so you can understand what we are practicing. For now, we cannot practice all of this. We can only strive to eliminate conceptual grasping at phenomena. If one firmly understands conceptual grasping at phenomena, engages in the practice, and attains realization, one can reach the first bodhisattva ground. First ground bodhisattvas of the general Mahayana path uproot conceptual grasping at phenomena and perceive everything as emptiness. So, what is conceptual grasping at phenomena? We will explore this further when there is an opportunity. After entering the first bodhisattva ground, one begins to eliminate innate grasping at phenomena. It is divided into the sixth consciousness grasping and the seventh consciousness grasping, which takes the eighth consciousness as its object. The sixth consciousness perceives external appearances, the aggregates, 5 aggregates, sense bases, 12 sense bases, and elements, 18 elements, generated by all consciousnesses. In other words, it regards the perceived aspect of the eighth consciousness as real phenomena. The seventh consciousness doesn't grasp outward but inward, taking the perceiver aspect of the eighth consciousness as a real phenomenon, its own mind. The seventh consciousness innate grasping at phenomena is continuous. It inwardly grasps the perceiver aspect of the eighth consciousness. The sixth consciousness perceives external appearances as real phenomena with self-nature. These appearances refer to the aggregates, sense bases, and elements which are generated by all consciousnesses and discriminated by the first 6 consciousnesses. As you can see, this grasping can be divided into various types. We will discuss it further when there is an opportunity. This brief explanation serves to clarify what we are currently working on. Currently, we are learning the elimination of both conceptual self-grasping and conceptual grasping at phenomena, as the former is based on the latter. On the foundation of conceptual grasping at phenomena, self-grasping arises. Self-grasping is a form of grasping at phenomena. Grasping at phenomena is the clinging to external, objective phenomena as having inherent nature. We regard our 5 aggregates as a truly existent self. We perceive this phenomenon as I, generating a subjective clinging. Self-grasping is also a form of grasping at phenomena. Self-grasping clings inwardly, while grasping at phenomena takes the external appearances of the aggregates, sense bases, and elements as real. This is just a brief introduction. It's enough for you to familiarize yourselves with some of the terminology. Innate grasping at phenomena is very subtle, while conceptual grasping at phenomena is grosser and easier to eliminate. Innate self-grasping is also subtle and can only be eradicated after attaining the first stage of awakening. For now, our focus is on eliminating conceptual self-grasping. So, how should we do it? Upon entering the path of seeing, conceptual self-grasping is extinguished and will never arise again. When I explain conceptual self-grasping, you might think you understand it. But after a while, you may become confused again, wondering, does the self exist or not? What is conceptual self-grasping? This indicates that you haven't realized it and are still in the phase of learning. This is the situation at the stage of learning. While you may seem to understand the teachings when listening, you haven't fully comprehended or realized them. If you truly realize the selflessness of persons and no longer have doubts, you have attained the first fruition, and I can confirm it for you. Therefore, I don't necessarily need to verify your progress privately. You can also receive verification during class. When the Buddha taught the dharma, countless listeners attained the first stage of awakening. It's not that difficult. However, as your practice advances, it becomes more challenging as innate self-grasping and innate grasping at phenomena are more difficult to uproot. What we are learning now, conceptual self-grasping, is not hard to eliminate. Don't think I understand it, and it seems like conceptual self-grasping is gone. But why do I still have self-grasping? In fact, that is innate self-grasping, and don't be afraid. Don't assume that just because you have innate self-grasping, you haven't attained realization. Those who have attained the first fruition still have strong innate self-grasping. So, don't think you haven't attained realization. Those who have realized it still have innate self-grasping and innate grasping at phenomena. They haven't diminished at all. Therefore, once you uproot conceptual self-grasping, you attain the first stage of awakening. This is what the Essentials for Purifying the Mind is about.